first question is, how did you get into this role and why?
So I've been working for the Met just coming up to a year. It'll be a year next week, actually. I got into the role because I'd left my previous career in banking, 27 years, and I took voluntary redundancy, and I kind of enjoyed the time for about a year, and then I was getting bored and I wanted to do something different. I didn't know what the different looked like, but I thought, let me try something that I've never done and something that's outside my comfort zone. And to be honest with you, when I was looking on the internet, just searching for what could be different, this just sort of come across. I didn't plan to join the Met initially because I was a bit worried, a bit nervous about doing sort of these kind of roles. But I applied for it thinking I wouldn't get it, to be honest with you. And then after a couple of interviews, I was successful. So yeah, I kind of just stumbled across on it. But it was more for a challenge. That's how I kind of ended up in the role.
How do you ensure that the rights of detainees are protected?
It's really important to care about what you do, and that means obviously care about your work, your colleagues, and also your customers. So because of my banking background, I'm used to saying customers and clients. So for me, when I've come into this role, the detained people are your customers. You're there to look after them like you would with any other sort of place that you'd work. There are sort of laws that are set by, but more importantly than laws and regulation is more the human touch, I feel. So it's the interaction that you give to any normal human being, just out of courtesy, the politeness. I think that goes a long way more than making sure you're doing the right thing. So it's just being kind, if I'm honest, caring as you would do with any other person. So I think that's really important. That's how I personally feel when I'm interacting with anyone.
What types of skills are needed for your role and why?
I think people skills is the most important skill, I would say. How to interact, and I know it sounds basic, but it is really important to be able to adapt yourself to the different types of people, because we're all different, and it's great that we are different. Some of us have different needs in terms of, how we come across. Sometimes we might need to say things in a different way to make sure the person that we're talking to understands us. So you have to kind of be a bit adaptable in your skill set to be able to communicate effectively to the person in front of you. So for example, sometimes there might be someone that you might have to be softly spoken to or be a bit more sensitive around because of what they've gone through, or you can just see from their body language. Or sometimes you might have to be a bit assertive where someone's being boisterous and maybe violent, aggressive, and you might have to adapt your tone to match or mirror, or sometimes soften or be more assertive depending on the situation. So I think people skills, for me, I think that's the biggest thing required for the role.
Can you describe a typical day in your role?
Every day is very different, which is great. So there's no set day. Also, although sometimes the tasks or the things that we do are quite repetitive, like with most roles, I think the interactions you have on a day-to-day basis, whether it's with majority of the people coming in, and also colleagues around you, gives it a bit of variety. A typical day would be you've got your sergeants, who are obviously the people who made the authorization in terms of permission of who's going to come in and not going to come in. You have officers who, on a general basis, arrest people that need to be arrested, bring them into custody, and then the sergeants make a decision about their detention being authorized or not. And then what we would do as designated detention officers is make sure their welfare is looked after during their stay. So that means from the basics around food, drink, are they okay? Do they need blankets? Are they cold? Are they warm? Calls to solicitors, family members, solicitors' interactions. So all those things that they are entitled to by law, we need to make sure we're doing, but also giving them the people side of things. So that's the care and the nurture that's not really written in law, but that's something that you do as human beings. So I think that's the basics of what a typical day would look like. People coming in, we're making sure they're being looked after, and the communication, the interactions that need to go on through solicitors, through family members are being done. And that's basically a 12-hour shift. So that's pretty much repetitively happening through the custody suites, through all the people that are coming in, because we need to make sure that all people are treated fairly. So not like, well, this person's got better treatment than this person. So we need to be consistent with I say service because it is a service that we're delivering, to making sure we're treating everyone fairly and equally.
What are the biggest challenges you face working on custom?
For me, I face a lot of personal challenges. Before I joined the Met, I was in a very comfortable 9 to 5, Monday to Friday role, done it for 27 years working for a bank. So when I did choose to challenge my own personal boundaries, I don't think I could have chosen anything more extreme, because I have to work 12-hour shifts now. That's a challenge. I do night shifts, which I've never worked in my life. I also have to deal with kind of sometimes violent and aggressive sort of behaviour, which, I've seen, but I've never had to sort of deal with face to face. Also, in terms of my personal background, I come from an Asian background. I'm female. I'm 5 foot, not very tall. So all these are my personal insecurities that I've had to face up with, just to push my own personal boundaries. See, can I do this role? Can I be out my comfort zone? If I'm honest, I was not sure if I could push the limits for myself, but I kind of, with the support of my family and my friends, I've kind of been able to do that. And for me, it's overcoming your own insecurities. So for me, that's the biggest personal challenge. And I'm quite happy to talk about it, because I feel like we all have them, but we don't sort of think that we can get through them. And I was just sort of being someone else, but I'm kind of middle-aged and I'm not ashamed of it. But sometimes you think, oh, you had your career, you're middle-aged, oh, you're not going to get another job. So even looking for another job was a challenge in itself, thinking, is anyone going to employ me now? Like I'm kind of at this age now, people want young people. So even things like age is something that people wouldn't think is an issue. But for me, I was worried about it, thinking, oh, can I still do it again? I've not done an interview in 30 years. What does an interview look like nowadays? So all these small basic things that people think, oh, okay, it's not a big deal. For me, that was a challenge. So probably quite a few, but I think the main one is the personal challenge, overcoming our personal insecurities and challenges.
Thank you very much. That's perfect.